Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you're watching this. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming to episode 7 of the MMAHOLICS podcast. Today, we are going to do a breakdown of UFC Fight Night Ankalaev versus Walker, UFC Vegas 84. You might see it on Twitter being called that. And yeah, guys, it's a pretty decent card. You already know, but with my man Nikki, as always, just breaking down this card for you guys. Yeah, and it's supposed to be the appetizer to UFC 297 next Saturday. So it's, of course, we this is like we went like 3 weeks with no MMA, so it's finally good to get our MMA addict fix, and yeah, man. You ready, Nikki, or anything you
Yeah,
need
I'm
to
ready to
say?
get right into it, man.
All right, bet. Let's do it, brother. Yeah, man. Starting out with the first fight of the night, Felipe Burns versus Joshua Van. Yeah, man, this is a close fight. You could tell like by the betting odds. Um, but in my opinion, I low key think that Joshua Van might have the edge in this matchup. I think he's a very, very good fighter, man, with his boxing technique and his forward pressure. I liked in his last performance how he was able to weather that early storm in the first round and really just keep pressing it forward against Kevin Borjas. Like I thought that was really, really impressive. It's always good to see these prospects weather adversity and be able to even fight their way to a decision and win unanimously at that. So I thought that was a really good performance for Joshua Van. And even in his debut, versus Zalga Zumagulov, like, of course, if you look at Zalga Zumagulov's record, everyone knows that he got robbed a lot of times. But that was the one of the fights though where Joshua Van, the jab was just too much for Zumagulov, and that's one of his best fight characteristics, in my opinion. One of his best skills is his jab. He has a very good jab, very good forward press, the way he'll use it, and just walk the opponent down. And it's really good when managing distance, and it's really nice to watch. Really good technical boxer. In terms of his career, he has 5 wins via knockout, 2 wins via submission, 2 wins via decision. His only loss is via submission, and it came by Devin Jackson at Fury FC 55. He lost to rear naked choke and in the second round. And obviously you could tell from the wins that he's gotten since then, he's improved a lot. And it's really cool to see that, he's a martial artist that learns from his losses. It doesn't really get too caught up. You always got to keep a short memory when you set out to do a journey like this. And yeah, like I said, he's a good, well-rounded fighter, in my opinion, primarily a boxer, likes to use the hands, like it's really good with him, man. And yeah, I think he can get the victory here. In terms of Felipe Burns, I do think he is. Excuse me, Felipe Bunes. I think he is a decent fighter. He went 1-3 in ACA in terms of his career. He has 3 wins by knockout, 8 wins via submission, and 2 wins via decision. He's lost via decision 4 times. He's lost via submission twice. And yeah. And so I think that does show you that at least he has a chin. He's lost via decision 4 times, and he can be submitted. We do know that, but it's gonna be kind of hard to knock him out. And yeah, at one point he was in a 3-fight losing streak, but he bounced back after that, and ever since then he's kind of up and down. Before that he was in a really long winning streak, but like I said, that was his ACA run. So we see what it looks like when he gets those step up in competition, like whether based off the promotion and the competition that he will face. And yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna have a hard UFC debut here versus Joshua Van. I think even those 2 fights just gave him a lot of experience, especially how I said in the second fight he had to weather that bad first round and come back and win a unanimous decision. So I was gonna go with Van in this fight. How you feel?
Yeah, this one's a really good fight. This is a UFC debut for Bunes, and he's facing Joshua Van, who's fighting on a 2-week notice. So this wasn't Bunes' original opponent.
Mm-mm.
One thing I saw on UFC stats for Joshua Van was he has 9 strikes landed per minute, and he also absorbs 6 per minute. So those are pretty high for output, but also for the amount of damage you're taking in a fight. So he's going to want to strike a lot. With Bunes, he's a BJJ black belt. So for me, I picked
Mm-hmm.
Van to win by knockout, but I think there's also value. If Bunes could take this to the ground, I think there's definitely a chance for a submission for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Joshua Van also has really high takedown defense. So I think the fight definitely favors him, even on this 2-week fight notice, which isn't that crazy. I'm gonna take Van by knockout, but I would also look if you are betting on this fight, which this is probably one of the harder fights to bet on. A lot of the fights tonight are the odds are pretty spread out. Big favorites, big underdogs. So this one's
Yeah.
pretty close, but there is some value in Bune's submission. If he takes him to the ground, I think Van will have a lot of trouble there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. Great breakdown. And yeah, first agreement of the night. Let's see if we get a disagreement. Let's see if it happens or not.
I don't know. Tonight might be
Um,
straight agreements.
Trade agreements, yeah. Like I said, some of these fights, kind of like it's like how you just said, on camera. The favorites, there's a lot of favorites on this card, and there's a lot of
bigger here, so
big underdogs, literally, and you get one here. Seriously, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, starting out with Tom Nolan versus Nicholas Mata. Tom Nolan had a phenomenal debut on Contender Series, if you want to call it a debut. He looked great, man. Super young, 23 years old, really, really tall, lightweight at 6 foot. I mean 6'3". I was looking at his record, 6-0. He's a good fighter, man. A really good boxer, good striker. Period. To be quite honest, he's won via knees, punches, ground and pound, doesn't matter, and he can win a decision. So it's good to see he has a gas tank for 3 rounds. He had an amateur career, so it's cool that he has a lot more experience than you actually see on his record. And like I said, a really, really tall frame for the lightweight division. He's 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. So if he ever gets tired of cutting the weight, he definitely has a future at welterweight and maybe even middleweight, And yeah, I mean, he's super young. Like I said, in terms of his career, he has 4 wins via knockout. He doesn't have a submission win or submission loss yet. And he has 2 wins via decision. So, he prefers to strike, as you could tell. But I do think he is fairly well-rounded. Like if he does hit the ground, he has good scrambles off his back, even in the wrestling scrambles, trying to wrestle for position and get back up to the cage, maybe clinch and stuff and things of that nature. And yeah, I mean, I think for what his age, he's shown that he's very polished for 23. I think it's really just a matter of time for him to just improve, and just keep working his way up those UFC rankings. And for his debut, man, he's getting a guy that, he's had a fair amount of adversity. Nicholas Mata, at this time, he's 1-2 with a 1-0 contest inside the UFC, and of course that no contest just happening against Trey Ogden. And that was a pretty bad position for him. I thought he was going to get submitted in that fight, by Trey Ogden. Before that, he got knocked out brutally by Manuel Torres. That was a beautiful elbow. It was gorgeous knockout, and he himself bounced back against Cameron Van Camp. Of course, Cameron Van Camp, he's 15-7 himself, and he went 0-2 in the UFC, and Cameron Van Camp is gone now, so... and before that, got knocked out by the veteran Jim Miller, who we'll see later on this card. But and yeah, man, and I really think that just shows you Nicholas Mata, in terms of his career, he has 4 wins via knockout. 4 losses via knockout, 9 wins via knockout. But I think those 4 losses via knockout, that's a lot. For losses in that category, and every time you get knocked out like that, it softens your chin just a little bit more. If it's not like a head kick, how we saw Dustin Poirier get knocked out, and he can bounce back from a knockout like that, because anyone can get knocked out by a head kick, but he's getting knocked out by punches, elbows, stuff that people can normally eat and just take on the chin. And I really think the chin's going to be a problem for him in this fight. And I'm gonna go with Tom Nolan by a 1st-round knockout in this fight.
I think this one's a really easy pick. I'm taking Tom Nolan. He's 6-0 prospect, 4 knockouts in a row. I think the only thing Mata has going for him is he's quick and he has good striking. But then you also have to look at the big body advantages that Nolan has. It's 6'3" to 5'9", 6 inches of reach. We have a few lightweights now that are at 6'3", so we have Jalen Turner, Tom Nolan. I think we have someone later on this card. I'm not sure if he's in lightweight or not, but he's also 6'3". I think he's around the same weight class. But yeah, this one's an easy pick, those 6 in a row, he had his 1 Contender Series fight, looked great on it. You take the Aussie here, these Aussies are good, man. They keep coming back with more and
Aussie.
more fighters. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, man, it was cool to see Volkanovski put them on the map, and now we're just getting an influx of fighters from that region. First it
Hmm.
was Khabib and the Dagestanis, and now we're getting, with Volkanovski, all the Australians, and it's really cool. It's really really cool to see. But yeah, moving on, man. Weston Wilson versus Gene Silva, another relatively easy pick. Weston Wilson, he came into the UFC on short notice. It was, honestly, it wasn't his fault, man. Like that UFC debut, it was a bad, bad, bad matchup. It was Joe Anderson Brito, you feel me? And that dude's like an unadulterated, just like mass of muscle and like pure power and adrenaline, you feel me? And like, it was a bad matchup for him to come into in his first fight, but we saw on the regional scene, he got some wins together. Of course, Marcus Andrusia is 9-19. So that really shows you, the kind of competition he was able to really get on the regional scene. He got knocked out by Teruto Ushihara, the UFC veteran. I watched that fight actually. Just up one late night watching YouTube on MMA, and it was crazy to see Teruto really knock him out like that because he was meditating before and he got up in this like it was just a beautiful, beautiful knockout. And yeah, man, outside of his career, in terms of his career, he has 5 wins via knockout, 11 wins via submission, and 0 wins via decision. He's a very, really good grappler. We can definitely say that, regardless of the level of opponent, he has the grappling technique. Absolutely, very good submissions. A lot of rear naked chokes, guillotine chokes, a lot of arm bars. Side chokes even. Definitely very good grappling technique for sure. That we can say about Weston Wilson. And he has 2 losses via knockout, and like the one that just happened was against a guy that has really, really good power. So I don't want to fly off the handle and say that Weston Wilson doesn't have a chin. But yeah, like I said, he's coming out here trying to get the win in his sophomore outing in the UFC, and we're gonna see what happens, man. But he's fighting a dude, Gene Silva, Lord Assassin, Gene Silva. It's a pretty cool nickname, not gonna lie. Yeah, man, this dude is low-key a killer. 8 wins via knockout, never ever been knocked out. Never been submitted. 2 wins via submission. Both wins come via decision. And one was a split at that. So he really could be like 12-1. And yeah, I mean, even ever since losing to Gabriel Schlupp, back in 2018, he's been on a beautiful win streak, all like finishes, making dudes retire on the stool, and he's winning decisions. So it's cool to see that he can do all he can win in all facets. He can finish guys and go a hard 3 rounds. And yeah, man, this dude, I'm saying he definitely has something to him. With his nickname Lord Assassin, he has his tattooed and all that. Definitely an interesting character for sure. He's 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. So he will be shorter than Weston Wilson. And we're gonna see how he deals with the height advantage of Weston Wilson. But in this fight, I was gonna go with Gene Silva. I just really like the momentum of Gene Silva. Especially when you haven't lost in 6 years now, in 2024. So he's looked really, really good, man. And I'm gonna go with Gene Silva. I'm probably gonna go with like a 2nd round knockout for Gene Silva.
Yeah, I like that pick. So Weston Wilson was the other fighter I was talking about. He's a 6'1" featherweight. So we got these tall fighters for their divisions.
Right.
But one thing I noticed about Weston Wilson, if you look on his thing, first thing that popped out to me, round one. 15 of his last 17 fights ended in the first round. So that just shows you he's coming out here and he's either finishing. Most of these are his wins, right? So he's either getting it done in the first round,
Kill or
or
be
he's
killed.
making a mistake in the first round that's losing him the fight. So he's getting right to it. He's facing someone in Gene Silva. Gene Silva, really good power. He has improvised striking. That's something that will win you those first round fights. Minus 800. Betting. If you're gonna bet on Weston Wilson by himself, do it. I wouldn't parlay it. Plus 550 will mess up your parlays. Weston does train for Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy has been in his quarter in previous fights, but the
Hmm.
if you ever watch Weston, go on YouTube, put him in there. He's a slower version of Wonder Boy.
Hmm.
His striking is like it doesn't look as slick. So I mean that kind of takes everything about Wonder Boy and throws it out. And that's not a knock to him. It's just he doesn't have that speed as someone as good as Wonder Boy, even though he trains for him. So for me, it's hard to pick him. I'm gonna take Gene Silva. I have him winning by knockout.
Yeah, man. Hey, it's what it is. And hey, Wonder Boy's a special case. So even at 40, almost 41, Wonder Boy's still really fast. And yeah, moving on,
Yeah.
Fareed Basharat versus Taylor Lapilus. We have one of the Basharat brothers. The dude's phenomenal. Both these guys are super polished. Going into Fareed, just like his brother Javid, he's undefeated. He's really, really good, man. Super polished. They're both really good on the feet and really good on the ground. As you can see, he's 11-0 for his career. He has 1 win via knockout. And 6 wins via submission and 4 via decision. So he's shown that he has good striking technique. If it's on the feet, he can definitely strike. For sure. Not with super high level strikers yet. I won't say that. He's still pretty young. At 26, but obviously he's a really good grappler. Really good submissions, man. Just like his brother, like it's really crazy. They both really train together like that, with the iron sharpens iron. They're both super, super good. And yeah, he's coming in here. He's on a 3-5 win streak. Look good on Contender Series. Got the win over Damon Blackshear. I thought that was a really big win. I think Damon Blackshear is a great fighter. We saw him get that twister submission over Jose Johnson. And got the win over Clayton Rodriguez, who I think also is a good prospect. And he finished Clayton Rodriguez. So I thought that was a really, really good win for him. And on the regional scene, a whole bunch of submissions. And hey, that one win by knockout, was a head kick in 11 seconds. So he could definitely, like I said, he definitely has the striking 100%. And you can definitely see it in the fights for sure. And yeah, man, he's fighting Taylor Lapilus in this fight. Taylor Lapilus, this is his second tenure in the UFC. He was here before. I believe it was back in like 2015 when Taylor was here. And like, yeah, man, he's a good fighter coming out of Paris. Like pretty well rounded, if I do say so myself. He has 4 wins via knockout, never been knocked out, 6 wins via submission, never been submitted, and he has 9 wins via decision, only lost via decision. So he's really, really well-rounded fighter. You could definitely see that. Double Impact is really dynamic. He's 5'6" in the bantamweight division with the 73-inch reach. So he has that small, compact frame, and then like the way he'll move in and out, he has really good footwork. Really, really dynamic striker when he really lets it go. And yeah, man, like I said, he's really durable. He's only lost via decision, and the fact he's never been submitted, it really shows you, like, for those that think he's just a striker, and when it hits the ground, he's really especially with his 6 submissions. He actually has more submissions than he does knockouts. So it's really good to see that. He's still just training his game. He's still staying like that well rounded and not really falling in love with just his grappling or just his hands. And yeah, this is a really, really close fight. I cannot lie. This is really close. I was gonna go with Fareed Basharat in this fight. I do think he'll get the takedowns. I think just the optics of that, with Taylor having to scramble back to his feet like that and stuff. I really think that Fareed can just take advantage of the ground control time. And it's like, yeah, like really add a lot of pressure, win some striking exchanges, maybe, because I think Taylor low-key might be the better striker. And yeah, I just think Fareed's going to use that bigger body, get him down, with the grappling, and just win some control time and get the victory via unanimous decision. How you feel?
Yeah, so we got one of the Basharats. Java just got his fight announced last night on Twitter, I saw. But this one's good. You see these wins, 5 in a row, 5 in a row. Love to see that. The spread, still pretty big, plus 200, minus 250. That's still there. For me, I'm taking Basharat. I have him winning by submission. On
Mm-hmm.
UFCstats.com, man, he has 3.5 per 15 minutes on his takedown average, which is super high for most fighters. And he also beats Taylor in the striking out. But Fareed, he has good striking, and he also, when he gets on top, that takedown average is going to get him on top on the ground. He has very heavy pressure on the ground, and those are the type of
Mm-hmm.
things that get you either a unanimous decision or a submission win. I think that top pressure will get him a submission win on Saturday night.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. I agree. And I love watching both these guys fight. I love watching them just like compete. It's really, really fun to watch when you like watching like high level, like technical MMA. And yeah, man, moving on to the next matchup on this card, we got the return of Marcus McGee versus Gaston Bolanos. Man, I really like Marcus McGee. Of course, the training partner of the current UFC bantamweight champion, Sean O'Malley. Marcus McGee, he's really good, man. He came into the UFC at 33, so I know that's a little bit older, but he has the benefit of being smack dab in the middle of his prime, fighting guys who might not be in their prime yet. And I think he's looked exactly that. Like he's in his prime right now. He's a really good striker, good wrestler as well, man. Super athletic. In my opinion, it's really good speed in the scrambles, really good speed in the striking. And for 33 years old, that makes me wonder what he would have looked like at 23 if he would have came in, 10 years younger. But yeah, he's a really good fighter, bro. In terms of his physical, he's 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. And yeah, he got the one over JP Bays in this last fight. I know you can't really take too much away from that because JP Bays didn't really have the best chin. Of course, shout out to JP Bays, really super nice guy. And yeah, he got the one over Journey Newsom. I thought that was a really good victory, especially to choke out Journey Newsom like that. And it really just showed his versatility, getting a submission and a knockout in his first two UFC appearances. And yeah, man, coming out of LFA, he just looked really good. I know he lost to Rafael Do Nascimento, but Rafael's a good fighter himself, and I would love to see him in the UFC. You know, and yeah, man, this dude he also fought on the amateur scene, took some losses on the amateur scene, and he finished his amateur scene out with 3 wins. So it's good to see that he can weather adversity and not give up, man. He still kept his dream, even though it started out bad for him like that. And yeah, he's a really well-rounded fighter. Like I said, he has 7 wins via knockout. Out of his 8 wins, 7 are by knockout. And he has 1 win via submission. So he's definitely training the grappling for those that think he's just a striker, And yeah, man, he's fighting his opponent, Gaston. This dude's 7-3, came in at 6-3. He's a pretty decent fighter himself, Gaston. He's 31 right now, 5'7", with a 69-inch reach himself. So no real advantages physicality-wise here. And yeah, he has 6 wins via knockout, never been knocked out. He has no wins via submission, but he's been submitted twice. And he has 1 win and 1 loss via decision. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He's in his last 4, he's 2-2. So he's trying his best to really garner some momentum right now. But hey, those last 2 outings, though, were 2 victories. So he's trying his best to do that right now. And we're going to see how he does against Marcus McGee. But like I said, Gaston, he's a decent fighter himself, fairly well-rounded. If you watch him fight, I know he has no wins via submission, but once it hits the ground, he's not that bad. He'll definitely have some scrambles in him, but I definitely think he's more of a striker than a grappler. In terms of his overall game. And yeah, man, I'm gonna go with Marcus McGee in this fight. I'm gonna go with a first round submission in this fight. We know that Gaston can be submitted. And I think Marcus McGee is going to replicate that game plan. And I was going to go with Marcus McGee.
Yeah, Gaston, I'm pretty sure he came from this Muay Thai background, so he has good striking. He's really tricky.
Mm-hmm.
He has great power. He also has 2 spinning back elbows, and he has a spinning back fist win. So he has those improvised strikes, which are always good in these fights. With Marcus McGee, he has that one-hit knockout power. That's really
For
big.
sure.
These types of fights are going to be really good. This should be one of the more entertaining fights of the night that people will see on the prelims. Get the crowd really hyped for the fights later on in the night.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, McGee's last fight over JP Buys, people were really hyped about that fight because JP does train with Aljo and Marab, and Marcus trains with Sean O'Malley, so that was really interesting for people.
Right.
For me though, I'm gonna be taking McGee in this fight. I got him winning by a knockout.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I love watching him fight, man, and we're gonna see what he does in his UFC career. Going to the next one, we got a welterweight matchup with Matthew Simmelsberger and Preston Parsons. Yeah, man.
This
Matthew
one had me
Simmelsberger,
hyped
he's taking
before
this
when it got
fight.
announced.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Matthew's actually taking this on a little bit short notice. So shout out to him for bringing the banger like he always does. You know, what we know about Samai the Jedi, he's a good boxer, a good wrestler. Yeah, he honestly is. You know, like that fight against AJ Fletcher, he really showed the ability to grapple with a really good wrestler. Even if AJ Fletcher's smaller than him like that, AJ's still super explosive with his grappling, and he really did a good job in nullifying it. And we know he has power. He knocked out Nick Diaz's friend, Martin Sano. And like that was like in like 40 seconds. Like that was crazy. When he knocked them out, like 15 seconds. Yeah. UFC 66. Yeah, that was crazy. That and I watched that at work on my phone. Like that was a crazy knockout. He has 6 wins via knockout, 1 win via submission, and 4 wins via decision. He's lost via decision 3 times. He's been submitted once, and he's has been TKO'd twice. So Samai the Jedi can finish, and he can be finished. He's a big dude for welterweight. I know there's welterweights taller, but it's really his frame, his broad shoulders. He has a decent reach too, at 75 inches. That's like 1 inch less than Usman, Kamaru Usman for the reach. And everyone knows how long of a reach that Usman had. That was one of his biggest advantages, especially with Usman's jab. And yeah, man, his last 2 fights, he got spinning back fisted by Udos Medic. You do not want that to happen. Of course you don't. You feel me? But we know how good of a striker that Udos Medic is. And he lost to Jeremiah Wells in a fight that he honestly could have won because he hurt Jeremiah a bunch of times. And that fight was honestly crazy. That fight was insane. He's 5-4 inside the UFC, but I think he's better than that record. He's only lost to really, really good guys. Like Chaos Williams is good. Alex Morono is good. Jeremiah Wells is good. And I think Udos Medic, he didn't like that one back, but Udos is a good striker. And yeah, going into Preston Parsons, this guy coming off a loss, he got knocked out. He got knocked out by Daniel Rodriguez. Got a win over Evan Elder, and then he lost to Trevin Giles. So it's kind of up and down in his career thus far. He's supposed to fight Basil Haves. I was going to pick Basil in that fight, especially coming off how he looked versus Jack Della Maddalena. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, in terms of Preston's career, he's, 0 wins by knockout. He has been knocked out twice. He has 9 wins via submission and 1 win via decision. So it's definitely a grappler versus striker kind of matchup, even though Matthew can grapple. And just saying that alone, I'm gonna go with Matthew Simmelsberger in this matchup. I know he's taking it on short notice, but I don't think he'd take the fight unless you think he could really win. And and if he wasn't in shape, And I think that the fact that that Preston's is a little more of a specialist rather than Matthew's a little bit more well-rounded, who I think he can grapple with Preston and he can have the better striking. So I think that Matthew's going to get the victory, and I'm going to go with Matthew Simmelsberger, like 2nd round knockout.
Yeah, you said it perfect. It's the grappling versus striking fight. Matthew's just, better striker and very technical, where that's going to help him in this fight. Preston just doesn't have any power behind his punches, so he's going to have to set something up. It's going to be hard with the pressure of Matthew. I got Matthew winning by a knockout, and the streak continues, man. We got all these fights the same right now. This one is a closer betting odd for tonight,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I understand why. Definitely because of the 2 different fight styles, that's when it's a little harder to pick, because that fight goes to the ground. It's definitely in Preston's favor.
I agree for sure. Yeah, man. And the next fight, we got the legend Andre Arlovsky versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. Yeah, man, Andre's still fighting. It's a golden name. Former champion. He held that belt, undisputed champion. Yes, he was the heavyweight. 34 and 22 at heavyweight is absolutely insane. When he retires and he's just trying to enjoy life with his kids, family, he's gonna have some body problems, man. Because Andre has taken a lot of damage. In the wins and the losses, it's just a matter of how many fights he's had. He's about to be, I think, 45. Andre's about to be, yeah. So, yeah, man, that's 5 years away from 50, man. And I get it, like he's still looking somewhat for a 45-year-old. Trust me, he looks great, like to be in shape like that and stuff. But we all know that, fighting especially is a young man's game, unless you're Bernard Hopkins, you feel me? And yeah, I think the 32-year-old Costa is going to give some problems for Andrei Arlovski, man. I think that, we all know that Andrei Arlovski, even going through his career, right quick, a lot of experience. That's the biggest thing going for him in this fight is the experience over Acosta. Outside of that, I do think Costa has better boxing. He's more athletic. If this was 15 years ago, Andrei Arlovski to be like a -900, whatever, if he'd be a big favorite. He'd be a really, really big favorite if he was in his prime, of course. Even then, right now, he's still 23-16 in the UFC. That's a good record to have that many fights that he has,
Look at the names he fought, man. He's seen it all, man.
Literally,
he's seen Wordham, he's seen Fedor, he's seen Ngannou, Stipe,
Ngannou, Anthony Johnson,
Overeem, man.
Fedor Emelianenko, Roy Nelson.
If Jones was heavyweight, he would have seen Jones at the time, man.
Seriously, Frank Mir, Antonio Silva, Travis Brown, Josh Barnett, Alistair Overeem. Like he's, I mean,
the only dudes you could say he didn't see was Lesnar and
Brock Lesnar.
That's it.
DC. Dead ass, like
that's all you can see.
Seriously,
he's
man.
seen the current interim, He's seen dude got knocked out. Derek.
I mean, he fought Francis Ngannou, like he fought Francis, man. Like he checked that off the list.
Tuivasa, Josh Barnett, Frank Mir, Brandon Schaub. He's seen everyone.
Everyone. Literally, rest in peace all day. And like even with what me and Nikki just said, like. Obviously, he's going to be a UFC Hall of Famer. The Pioneer Wing is literally tailor-made for Andrei Arlovski to be put in the Pioneer Wing of the UFC Hall of Fame. He's already beaten the game. He won the belt. He beat the game. He's just doing side quests now. And yeah, man, and we already talked about Costa. Costa's a good boxer. He's 32. The UFC newcomer. He's 10-1. And yeah, he's just trying to
78 reach.
Yeah, pretty big fellow, pretty big guy. You feel me? He lost to Marcos Rogério de Lima, but we all know how good of a veteran that de Lima is. And he was on a good tear himself before he got flying kneed by Derek Lewis. And yeah, man, I do think that Waldo's a good fighter with what he's shown in his fights. I know the victories you can't take too much away from him over Chase Sherman and Jared Vandera, but I think it's more about his technical boxing. His prowess, what he has shown with his boxing. And he has, somewhat good takedown defense. I think he's just improving that level of his game. You feel me? That's what he's working on the most because he knows he can strike already. And yeah, man, I was going to go with Waldo Cortez Acosta, man. I love Andrei Arlovski. He's a fucking legend, man. He's been here for so long. Like to be here, people gotta realize, like, some people come into the UFC back like in 2019, right? And they were gone by 2021. You feel me? Of course, Andre was cut at one point, but I feel like some of those were also like contract disputes and stuff, and they would let him walk because they brought him back, a lot, and everyone loves Andrei Arlovski, man. He's a veteran. So he's been around for so long. And like I said, if this was 15 years ago, I'm picking him like 1,000%, if he's 15 years younger. But it's just, yeah, man, I can't right now. He's almost 45 years old. I think Waldo will just take advantage of the older age, purely that, just take advantage of it, and he'll be faster. And in that, but shout out to the former champion and the future Hall of Famer. And moving on to the main card.
Let me get my pick, man.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry about that.
We know where the pick is, though. I'm taking Waldo by knockout. I do like to take experience in fights, but it comes with the price when you get that old. At 45, he's probably the oldest fighter in the UFC. I can't think
in the UFC
right now. Yeah. Right. And then Waldo just has such high striking output for a heavyweight. Heavyweights could go either way. Andre could get lucky and slip one right there, and first punch of the night. But Waldo's going to be younger. He's going to be more, more focused in, more quick. It's going to be harder for Andre to pull this one out. So yeah, Waldo by knockout for me.
Yeah, man. It's just a part of the game. It's the fight game. My bad about that, Nikki.
You're good.
And yeah, man, moving on to the main card, guys. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please turn those notifications on as we prepare to close out the fight card this evening, or whenever you guys are watching this. And yeah, man, going into, hey, man, this fight, it is what it is. Bruno Ferreira. I start out with Bruno, bro. Like Bruno, this guy's a monster. I'm gonna be real. He got knocked out by Nursultan Ruziboev. That guy's a monster himself. You feel me? And like that was just a monster eating another monster. Like it was a pretty tall task. No pun intended. That dude's like 6'5", and Bruno's like 5'10". So I think that was gonna. And height isn't everything in a fight, but I damn sure thought that it was gonna pay dividends in that matchup. And I thought that, man, like just the reach advantage alone for Nursultan was gonna be problems for Bruno trying to climb that tree. And yeah, it was hard for Ferreira, man. And he got knocked out in the first round. He lost his O, unfortunately. And it sucked. Of course, gonna be happy for Nursultan. We saw how emotional he was after that victory. He was crying, after getting that victory, Nursultan Ruziboev. So like that was a really good victory for him. And yeah, Bruno Ferreira. Outside of that, though, before that, he was murdering guys himself. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful knockouts. He knocked out Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, sent him to the shadow realm. He was out cold. I couldn't believe that. You feel me? And that was really a fight where both guys were just throwing blows and they were just in the pocket and he put him to sleep. You feel me? He pulled the plug. Cut the lights off. You feel me? And yeah, he's done that to a lot of opponents. He cut the lights off on Leon Alou. Well Oliveira. This dude's really like a really good knockout artist, pure knockout artist. No, I get it. All these are in the first and second round. You feel me? That could be a major red flag for certain people who would like to see the prospects go through a hard fight, go 3 rounds, and all of that. But it's kind of hard when the guys cannot withstand the power. And he's not beating scrubs. Some of these dudes are 10-1, 10-3, 11-5, 13-4. Gregory Rodriguez was. So it's not like these dudes are scrubs, and Sebastian, not Sebastian, Adercio. De Jesus, he was 3-0. 10-3, and I thought that was a good win for him. You feel me? Even the dude he beat that was 33-18, Oliveira, he beat a dude that had a lot of experience. So I thought that was really good to show that he could do that, and he knocked him out in the first round. So this dude really does have thunder in both of his hands. And going into his opponent, No Hype Haas, formerly known as Megatron Haas. Phil Haas, it's just really unfortunate, man. It's really unfortunate. His chin, unfortunately, it's really like his biggest weakness, because he's a great striker, man. We saw what he did to Jacob Malkoun. He obliterated Jacob Malkoun. If they were to fight now, that fight could go differently. I'm not going to lie. He's 4-3 inside the UFC. 8 wins via knockout, 4 losses via knockout, 2 wins via submission, 1 loss via submission, and 2 wins via decision. He got knocked out by Akram Askarov, knocked out by Roman Dolidze. Now, the Roman Dolidze loss, I thought, that was okay because he does have a lot of power. I was kind of surprised when he got knocked out by Akram Askarov. Akram Askarov himself, he has, 6 wins via knockout, and he's been knocked out himself. Of course, we know that knockout loss to Akram was Khamzat Chimaev, so you can't take too much away from that. But, he's showing that when he fights other good strikers, because Akram can strike, that he can't be put to sleep, and for a striker himself, who's like predominantly a striker, that's really bad, man. And, I was watching the MMA Oddsbreaker podcast, and shout out to Adam Martin. He had a really good saying for this. He was saying it's like a fighter. It's like a warrior in battle. You can't be a warrior with a sword and not a good shield. And your shield is your chin. And yeah, man, I think he's just been. Knocked out by Chris Curtis. He's really just. Knocked out by Julian Marquez. That was a head kick, and I really think that But it's just his chin at this point. His chin, like it's let him down a bunch. Like if he had a really good chin, he could finish a bunch of his duel with his amazing elbows. He has great kickboxing. He has great kickboxing combinations, good leg kicks. He's really fast on the feet too. You know, in a real physical frame. You know, it's just Phil Haas's chin, unfortunately. And I'm gonna have to go Bruno Ferreira in this fight, man. I'm gonna go Bruno Ferreira by a first round knockout. This fight can go either way, like literally either way. Haas is still a really, 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 really good striker, and he can land the shot. But I think if Bruno lands first, I think Haas will get wobbled, and I think Bruno can get the knockout. So I'm gonna go with Bruno Ferreira.
Yeah, I'm surprised at the odds on this one. This is one of also the closest fights of the night. And this is disrespect. I think Phil Hawes is a good fighter. I think if you look at the fights, you know, the names that he's fought: Ikram, Roman Dolidze, Andre Petroski. Hold on.
You're good.
1 second.
And that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, it's just like a crazy. It's just fortunate for Phil Haas, man. I mean, like, he's a good fighter, like I said, you know. But I really think with Marcus McGee, I mean, that's a Marcus McGee. I'm tripping. That's a few fights ago. Yeah, man, with Bruno Ferreira, I just think with Bruno, like, it's just really the momentum. And I know that Bruno's coming off that knockout loss, but hey.
Sorry about that, but yeah, just looking at the names, you know, Ikram, Roman Dolidze, Chris Curtis, you know, those are good dudes. Kyle Daskus, Imavov, those are all good fighters. You know, I feel like he's really fed in the UFC a lot. You know, they know he's a good fighter, so they could test him with stuff. But Bruno Ferreira, look at all the first round knockouts. You know, I said this earlier with another fighter. He gets in there and gets it done, and he has such strong power. Maybe this one slips to the second, but I have him winning by first round knockout. I mean, you got to follow trends with UFC fighters. I mean, if they got all these first round knockouts, when this list comes up here, what do you think is going to be there? Third round knock? It's going to be very similar. There's going to be a lot more first round knockouts in his career, especially with the power that he possesses. And those odds, you know, only minus 125. Definitely throw him on your parlays if you're taking anyone on these cards. Definitely throw him there.
Easy money, free money, absolutely.
Not free though. I like I said, I think Hawes is a good fighter. I think he's getting fed a lot though because they know his skill level. So I don't think it's a wash. I think he'll get his punches in, but once Bruno lands, it's gonna be a different fight.
Right. And we'll see how it goes. You know, like I said, Haas could win. You know, we'll see. You know, I just think it's kind of dusty. But yeah, moving on to what I think personally is literally the hardest fight to pick on this card. I went back and forth about it like 30 minutes before I even hit my boy Nikki up to get this recording going. And man, dude, this fight's really close. Starting out with Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone is a great bantamweight in terms of the wrestling. Really, really good in the way he'll pressure his fighters with the grappling. Really good at getting the control time, man. And how he'll play the game. Like, you really like hold the opponent down really with this really good, you know, physical strength and just rack up the control time and get a victory. But lately, though, he's been using it to get ground and pound, you know, submissions, and it's good to see that, you know, he's really at this latter half of his career really turning it up. The win over Jack Shore was, in my opinion, his best win and maybe his entire UFC career. That was a phenomenal win, in my opinion, to take Jack Shore's O. The other best one you could say would be Merab Dvalishvili, but that was a weird ending. If you go back and watch that fight, it was a really, really weird ending. With Merab, like, he could have won it, and then it was just really weird. And then Montel Jackson, you know, that was a good victory too. But, you know, he got knocked out by Uriah Faber and lost to Rob Font. Those were his biggest setbacks. And, you know, then he had to climb his way up the rankings again. He had to beat Ray Borg, Gustavo Perillo, Gaetano Perillo, Brian Kelleher, Rafael Sunsao, and Jack Shore, like I just said. You know, all those guys are either old or not in the UFC anymore. So it's kind of hard to take stuff from that, you know. The best win though is indeed Jack Shore. Even though he's a featherweight now, he was a bantamweight for a long time, and that was a great victory over Jack Shore. Finished him at that. Didn't just get a decision to take his O. And yeah, man, he has 6 wins via knockout, 4 wins via submission, and 10 wins via decision. He's a good all around fighter. 31 now, so he's in the prime of his career. And if you look at his physique, he's definitely a shredded dude. Definitely keeps himself in really good shape, for sure. And yeah, man, going to his opponent and Mario Bautista. I think Mario Bautista is a really underrated guy. Really good grappler, very well rounded, to be honest. He's 30 years old, so he's in the prime of his career. He has 6 wins via submission and 3 wins via knockout. 4 wins via decision. He's been knocked out once and submitted once. That one knockout came against Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones isn't in the UFC anymore. And I think if they were to fight again, I think Mario could win that fight. I think he took a bad approach in the matchup, leading up until the knockout loss. And the first loss was to Corey Sanhagen, and that was his UFC debut. And so you can't really take too much away from that. And that was like 5 years ago. So he's definitely gotten way better since then. And yeah, man, the win streak shows it. Like even I know like Jay Perrin isn't here anymore. Brian Kelleher just got knocked out by Cody. Benito Lopez, you can't take too much away from that. Even though he was 10-1, I still think that Benito Lopez took a lot of time off in between those fights from when he fought Vince Morales and fought Mario Batista. It was like a 3-year layoff Benito Lopez had. So, but hey, he still got the victory. And Guanito Canetti's like 43. And Damon Blackshear, I thought that was his best win. It was a really, really, really good win over a great wrestler like that. And it shows that against even great wrestlers that he can compete against them and get the win. And yeah, man, going to my pick in this fight. Again, this is a really, really, really close. This is super duper close, man. I went back and forth over this for a long time. Man, man, I was gonna go with Mario Bautista in this fight, bro. I was gonna go with Mario Bautista. I just think he's a little bit like, in terms of like the skill sets, like Ricky Simon has the wrestling. He has really, really good wrestling, but Mario has good wrestling too, and he's good on the feet. I think he's better on the feet than Ricky, you could say. I know Ricky has more knockouts, but he has more fights. You feel me? That's the biggest thing going for Ricky in this fight, in my opinion, is the experience. He doesn't have a better skill set than Mario Bautista. I think Mario Bautista is a really good grappler too, and he's not going to just out wrestle that good grappler like that. I don't think it's going to happen. And I think he has a really strong frame. He's not skinny like how Jack Shore was to get bullied like that. And Mario Bautista is really well rounded too. I think he can sprawl and brawl. I think if it hits the ground, he can grapple with Ricky, maybe attack a submission. And I think he can also get the win on the feet as well. I think he's a decent striker for sure. And he just beat another really, really good wrestler and Damon Blackshear. So that shows he went out of one wrestling training camp into another one like that. And we know how that can benefit fighters. We saw what it's doing from Leon Edwards right now, training for Usman and Colby back to back like that. And with Mario Bautista, I really think that, like, yeah, man, he can nullify some of that wrestling and he can win some of the striking exchanges. So I was going to take Mario Bautista in a razor close fight.
For me, I think this is where we split off. I have Ricky Simon winning by a decision. I think the wrestling is just gonna win him this fight. Just those points, the control time. Bautista hasn't really shown super good. Like he definitely trains, right? So here's the interesting thing, right? In his career, he hasn't shown, I have very good takedown defense, right? But obviously, knowing this fight's coming up, knowing someone like Ricky Simon, who's going to be very, very obsessive
wrestling
for the takedown, he's
centric.
going to keep going for it. He's just going to keep going for those legs. He might shoot 3 takedowns in under 10 seconds trying to get it. He's going to train for that. So maybe this is a fight where we see great takedown defense, and if we do, he wins the fight, for sure. But we haven't seen that yet from him. I think Ricky Simon is going to win this fight due to a decision. I don't see a finish. Maybe someone gets a submission because this fight will touch the ground. But I just think the points are going to go his favor. People might not like it, that style, that Merab just like keep going for takedowns and get some control time. But that's what wins you fights. If that's your style, that's your style. It's MMA, mixed martial arts. You mix the martial arts, and that's his style. So I'm gonna also my option would to be leave this one off. This one I don't really like the bet on. It's a hard pick. I didn't really have too much info to go off of them. They were both good fighters. They both seen some of the best bantamweights now and current, past, Ricky Simon, who saw Uriah Faber. But it's tough, man. This one's a tougher fight to pick.
It is. It's really close. It's really close, but it don't matter who you pick, and it's the close fight on the card. It was 1,000% is super close, but because both guys can grapple and strike, so it's like it's gonna be a good fight regardless. I'm gonna at least one of us will get it right, and
It's hard to pick a fight when you know it's going to go to a decision. That's the hardest.
right.
When you know it's going to go to a split decision, it's really hard to pick a fight, and I would suggest leaving that off your guys' parlays.
Yeah, me and you both. But yeah, man, as we close out this card, we got Jim Miller versus Gabriel Benitez. Yeah, Jim Miller's coming out in this card. He's trying to stay on pace for UFC 300, so he wanted to fight here just so he knows he'll be in shape for UFC 300, and like yeah, I guess he wanted to get paid, and like yeah, got to get that money. And for Jim Miller, we all know everything about Jim Miller, Jim 18 Miller, great grappler, great power, really developing the power later in his career. He's cured his Lyme's disease, so it's he's really look way better in his performances now. He isn't gassing out like how he used to, and he's turning back the clock in like a massive fashion. He got the last one over Jesse Butler. Of course, Jesse took that on short notice, but it was still a 23-second knockout. It was a beautiful win. He lost to Alexander Hernandez, but that was via decision. And some people thought it could have went the other way. Some people, most people were picking Alex though. And yeah, and before that was on a 3-5 win streak versus Eric Gonzalez, Nicholas Mata, and Donald Cerrone. Finished all three of them. So it's really showing even at this age, he still has that killer instinct, and that's really, really cool to see. Yeah, it's no need to go down the resume. We know he's fought literally every Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, Anthony Pettis, Dan Hooker, Michael Chiesa, Diego Sanchez, Donald Cerrone twice, Beneil Dariush. He's fought. He's fought everyone.
But Bobby Green, right?
Bobby, yeah. He's literally. I don't know. He fought Dustin.
Yeah, go.
Nate Diaz, Melvin Gillard, Gleason Tebow. He fought Charles twice. He beat Charles. But it was submitted Charles at one point with a knee bar.
He's fought champions, man.
Seriously, for real, it's crazy. Interim and undisputed. But yeah, man, he's 7 wins by knockout, 19 wins via submission. Only been submitted 3 times, and 10 wins via decision, 12 losses via decision. So he still got that rock solid chin, baby. And yeah, man. So going to his opponent, Mowgli Benitez. This guy's fun to watch too. Really good body kick. This AKA alumni, American Kickboxing Academy. Been kind of up and down in his UFC career. He's 7-6, but he won his last fight via Charlie Ontiveros. Can't take too much away from that. I don't think that was really the best level opponent for him. And before that, he got knocked out by David Onama and finished by Billy Quarantillo. He finished Justin James, but we know Justin James isn't inside the UFC anymore. And he lost to Omar Morales and Sadiq Yusuf. So, yeah, man, I really think that he's like I said, Gabriel, he's had a fairly up and down UFC career, but in terms of his skill set, he's still a good striker, really powerful body kick, man. When he can get it to land, he's 35 years old now, so he's getting kind of up there. It's funny saying that because Jim Miller's older, and he's fought today with a 71-inch reach, But going to my pick in this fight. It's a close fight. As you can tell from the betting odds, you feel me? It's near even, literally. I'm gonna go with the experience of Jim Miller in this fight. I like Jim Miller in this fight. I know that Gabriel is a little bit younger, but he's still 35, and he's not gonna be bigger than Jim Miller at all. They're gonna be the same height with the same exact reach. Gabriel is just younger, and he just knocked out a younger. Jim Miller just knocked out a younger Jesse Butler, and we know Jim Miller's very well rounded. If this is on the feet, we know he has great power, and if it's on the ground, I think he gets a submission all day. And yeah, I look, he might go with this a second round sub for Jim Miller. Again, this is a close fight. In my opinion, I know all the fans on Typology. If you scroll down, it's 90% for Jim Miller and 10% for Benitez. But some of that's just fan love for sure. Because Gabriel's definitely still, pretty athletic dude, pretty fast striker. But I think Jim Miller can either, get the knockout or the submission. He still has great power. He's not slowing down like that. And even in the Alexander Hernandez loss, he still looked good in that fight. It was a decision. He didn't get finished by a younger fighter. I mean, before that, he was on a 3-fight win streak, So I really think Jim Miller still has a lot of experience. He still has a lot on the table. And I think he's the more well-rounded fighter in this matchup. So I'm going to go with Jim Miller in this fight.
How did you have Jim Miller winning? Second round?
Oh, that's second round submission. That's a second round submission.
Okay. For me, I'm also taking Jim Miller. Gotta respect the long-lasting Jim Miller. He's one of the best finishers in UFC history. If you go to UFC stat or UFC history on Google and you search on most finishes, most submissions, he'll be on both lists up there. Benitez, he's 6-11 in his last 6 of his 11 last fights have been first round endings. So I'm gonna be taking Jim Miller by a first round knockout in this one. One of the best finishers in UFC history, so I think he wants to balance out the resume a little bit before UFC 300. They're both really similar fighters, so they're going to mimic each other in the octagon, and I just think this one will stay on the feet before it gets to the ground, and I just think that experience is going to be the difference in this fight, because Jim isn't a washed 40, Jim's an exciting 40, so he could still win fights.
Exactly. Yeah, man. The legend. And before we get off this fight, just 2-minute intermission. Do you think Jim Miller will be a Hall of Famer when he retires?
So we had this conversation one time. It's like, who deserves Hall of Fame? Like, you talking just like regular Hall of Fame or like?
I'm like that golden gates. I mean, Pioneer. I mean, all of it's the Hall of Fame, but like just in those golden gates of the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
It's like you lost to you lost to some champ. You beat a champion right before he became a champion. You lost to a champion. You lost to Nate Diaz, who's like he was there. He never held the belt, but he was there. Lost to Cerrone, Beneil. That's how good is Beneil? Like I question that sometimes myself. Michael Chiesa win. Like it's hard, I don't like to just say everyone's a Hall of Famer. These 4 losses in a row suck, and then you lost to Oliveira.
But then he beat Charles too.
He did beat Charles, earlier Charles, though, And was that featherweight or was that lightweight?
I'm pretty sure it might have been light.
Featherweight Charles is a different fighter, I know we're just doing this intermission here, but weight at fight, it's lightweight. Okay, so
yeah, that's lightweight. So for sure,
it's hard for me. Beat the Roosevelt. That's contenders, tough fighter. Didn't get that Bobby Green fight. That would be that. I feel like as Bobby Green, that might boost the resume a little bit if he had a win over that. Cerrone, an older Cerrone. I don't know, man. It's hard. I don't like to just give I don't want to disrespect. He definitely deserves. A lot of people deserve Hall of Fame, but can they get it? One thing more I want to check. What do they have him ranked all time? 50th greatest grappler of all time. And at 35th best lightweight, but they don't have
that's pretty fucking high.
Yeah, but there's no top 100 greatest UFC fighters. Where was it? Andre, look, 92nd greatest MMA fighter of all time.
Right, and that's top 100. So yeah.
And Jim doesn't have that. He might be just off that list, for all we know. But it's hard.
Sure.
It's hard. Do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Oh, my answer, because you got the fight wing.
Definitely a legend of the sport, but it's
the fight wing, the modern wing, and the pioneer wing. I think you could put him in the pioneer wing, man. He has a lot of records. The records could either be because he's been here for a long time, or he has to win the fights though. I said it earlier, we've seen fighters come in 2019 and be out by 2021, So the fact he was winning so much that this dude is really still, he was fighting when they had sponsors on the shorts, bruh. And they gone through all these different, seriously, this dude's still here. If you scroll all the way down to the UFC debut. I mean, like, seriously, bro. Like, it's
Look,
crazy.
look at the card, man. We don't see stuff
Reality
like this no
fighting.
more.
Seriously, it's just been at it for a long time. But yeah, to answer it though, before we move on to close out the card in this co-main and main event, I think they should put him in the Hall of Fame, man. He just has so many achievements. When you're plastered all over the record books like that, yeah, bro. Like, and he's here because he won those fights. I don't think they just like him that much. Like, you know, I think he's here because he won those fights. You feel me? And it's looking at the resume. Look at like all that green, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
man. And then like that's what I'm
I do agree. If
saying.
he's there, it's got to be the Pioneer Wing. And the interesting about the Pioneer Wing is the Pioneer Wing doesn't have to stop ever. You know,
Mm-mm.
like you could put. It's weird, right? But you could almost put Connor on. If he didn't win two, well, no, that would take away from what he did. But like you could put someone like Connor who impacted
Oh
the sport
yeah,
on a Pioneer Wing. You know, like
definitely.
Pioneer Wing's interesting. I think it should continue to grow, but you should be careful who you throw on the Pioneer Wing.
Who they put in
Yeah,
there for sure.
I think it should continue to grow, and I think he'd be a good fit for it.
Definitely, me and you both. And yeah, moving on to the co-main event. Mateus Nicolau versus Miguel Cop 2. It's the rematch, Nicolau versus Cop 2. Absolutely the sequel,
Yeah,
I like to call
they
him.
fought already. Don't think this is their first fight.
Definitely not. And yeah, the betting odds indicate what everyone's thinking in this matchup. Yeah, man. For the sake of time, I'm gonna speed this one up a little bit. Yeah, man. I'm gonna go with Manel Cop in this fight, bro. I'm gonna go with Manel Cop in this fight. I think he's just improved a lot since the first fight. Even in the first fight, he only lost because he was being super inactive. I thought all he had to do was just throw more strikes, and he could have won the fight. You know. Mateus Nicolau was on his back during the whole jujitsu. You know, the whole Aljamain Sterling stuff that's happened recently. He was doing that on his back for like a whole minute, and like Nicolau like didn't really. I mean, Cop didn't take advantage. You know, and it was really unfortunate because he could have won that fight. And like it showed like the UFC's been wanting Cop to get up there. They gave him Alexandre Pantoja in his UFC debut, and Pantoja was ranked number 5. So that really showed you like 2 fights, and he could have been like, I mean, Cop could have been like Yuri. He could have literally came out of Rising, had 2 fights literally, and fought for the title because that's what Yuri did, you know. Prohaska. So like, yeah, Cobb could have literally done that. They tried to do it. They wanted to do it. They gave him the number 5 opponent. And he lost to Pinto just so he had to take the long way around. But he's still here. And and now he's fighting Mateus Nicolau. It'd be cool to see him. It'd be cool to see him get a title shot after winning this. It would be a 5-5 win streak. With this win being a knockout, you know. And I think as of right now, Cobb's around the almost top 5 in the flyweight division. So it would be tailor made. He would check all the boxes to get a title shot. He'd be a top five ranked fighter on a 5-5 win streak. And yeah, man, he's marketable. He has a fun style, and like I think it's only a matter of time until he literally fights for that belt. And yeah, man, I was gonna go with Manel Cop in this fight. He's number 6, and Mateus is number 5 in the UFC rankings as of this recording date. So I do think that one win here, maybe Manel Cobb could at least strap himself in to get a title shot early this year. Early this year for sure. And we could really see Pantoja versus Cop 2 for the belt. He would get another rematch. It'd be cool because he would like the 2 dudes that beat him when he came in, he would avenge those losses, you know. But we'll see what happens, you know. Who you picking in this fight?
Yeah,
And I'm going my second round knockout by Manel Cop. I didn't say second round knockout by Manel Cop. Mm-hmm.
Nice. These flyweights are always seeing each other earlier in their career. It's a common trend. But Cop, he has the 2 knockouts and 2 decision wins since his last loss. You know, Nicolau, he's coming into this fight off a loss, but he has all the confidence in the world. He already beat this guy, so that's got to be something going for you. We know Cop's gotten better striking since then. He's gonna win the striking exchanges, and it's gonna be even better than last time. But the Nicolau probably still wins the wrestling exchanges, so he has to keep it on his feet as much as he can. I got Cop winning a decision. I think this one goes the distance. Yeah, I think Cop's output is just going to be there. He's a great striker. It's gotten even better since their last fight.
For sure, yeah, man. And as we go to the main event, of UFC Vegas 84. I want to thank you guys again so much for joining us today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as we do the last fight and we close out this video. And now we have the main event of UFC Vegas 84. Magomed versus Johnny Walker. The rematch, the sequel, like a movie sequel. We saw in the first fight, man, it was a lot of controversy. Both fighters wanted to continue. It was unfortunate that the ref wouldn't let it happen. The doctor wouldn't let it happen. It was really unfortunate, but you got to put the health of the fighters first. This is just what they do for a living. You are going to retire one day, and you will have a life outside of fighting 100%. And yeah, man, it's really the same as the first fight. In terms of Magomed Ankalaev, man, we could go and talk about the Magomed Ankalaev, the former UFC title challenger. He's a very well-rounded fighter. We haven't seen his crazy striking in a little bit. A lot of his past ones have been via decision, but I think he just really wants to play it safe, guys. I think he really just wants to make sure that he gets the victory. He's built for anything. He can strike with anyone. He can wrestle with anyone. He's a good striker. He's a good wrestler. In terms of his career, he has 9 wins via knockout, never been knocked out. And he only has 1 win via submission, actually. So he actually prefers to strike, believe it or not. But he just has really good wrestling in his back pocket, like really, really good wrestling, And yeah, he has 8 wins via decision, never lost via decision. His only loss came via Paul Craig at the literal last second of the fight. If he didn't tap, if he just literally holds on for literally just 1 more second, he holds his breath for 1 more second, he's 19-0 right now, and he's undefeated. And yeah, man, it's it's unfortunate, but it's just a win for Paul Craig. Hey, that's Paul Craig, you feel me? Paul Craig. And yeah, man, like I said, in terms of his skill set, he's a good fighter, man. He's a good striker, good wrestler, not even great wrestler, good striker. And yeah, man, I think he's just really, really well-rounded. It's really a matter of his personality that stopped him from getting to the belt, and like some setbacks, just he had a draw. He had a draw with Blachowicz for the belt, and then he had this no contest. So in his last 2 fights, he hasn't had a result. It's just a draw and a no contest. So he's going through 2 training camps and gotten no win money out of it. And it sucks. You feel me? But yeah, man, going to his opponent, Johnny Walker. This guy was a mass prospect at the time, and figuratively and literally, was a mass prospect at the time. He was 6'6" with an 82-inch reach. I think John Kavanaugh has really unlocked the innate potential of Johnny Walker. He's really slowed everything down in the cage. I think he's shown that he has decent submissions. His power with his body and athleticism, when he composes it, it's just so deadly. He's just like a Terminator in the cage when he's really composed and uses his skill set wisely, as he should, with him, how he's getting better with his jabs, his combinations, just really slowing it down. You can really tell when the fight starts. He's really coming out slower. He's not starting out with 2 flying knees now and or doing like an M&R roll or anything like that, And it's really cool to see this evolution of Johnny Walker, even if it took some knockout losses to get here. I'm really happy that he's finally starting to show his true talent level and the specimen that he truly is in the cage. Both guys are 31 years old. Johnny's older by 2 months. It's the same as the first fight. Magomed is a -455 favorite, a big favorite. I think he's the big. I'll be real, guys. I think the only reason he's a really big favorite is really the grappling advantage. You can choose to, when you have that in your back pocket, you can use it at any moment, And I do think he can get the fight to the ground. It's gonna be hard to hold Johnny there. I think it will be kind of difficult. Magomed would have to use pure wrestling technique and the grappling technique to really keep him on the ground like that. But yeah, I'm going with my pick in the fight. I was gonna go with Magomed Ankalaev. I think for Magomed, Like he can really just play it safe in this fight. He's really cerebral with his approach. I think he can avoid the knockout shot from Johnny Walker. I'm not gonna be like Johnny. He can only win via knockout. He's a mixed martial artist. He could surprise everyone and jump on his back or get a guillotine or get anything in any moment. It can literally happen at any moment. He can hurt Magomed on the feet. He has a way longer reach than Magomed Ankalaev does. And I see that plus 355 underdog for Johnny Walker, and I don't really agree with that. I do think that this is a closer fight on paper. I do think the winner of this fight will fight for the title. If Jamal Hill, because Jamal Hill is still injured, so we'll see what happens with Jamal Hill. But yeah, man, I'm just gonna go with Magomed Ankalaev. Not necessarily because it's the safer pick, but I just think he'll be the more like composed fighter. We've seen him go 5 rounds a bunch of times now. So we know he has the gas tank made for his style. He can wrestle all 5 rounds. All he has to do is just play smart. Because he almost got hit with a flying knee in the first fight. So he has to just be careful. He'll go back and watch that. And the fact he wanted to strike with Johnny Walker really shows he's confident. And also, we've seen Johnny Walker knocked out before. We have seen it. So we're going to see what happens, But I think this is a closer fight on paper. And how you feeling for the last fight of the day? And Magomed Ankalaev by unanimous decision. I don't think he'll finish Johnny Walker.
Yeah, a lot of people associate Magomed's background, so obviously Dagestan, Russia, with wrestling, but I do think he has a kickboxing base. If you do look earlier into his career, he was really skilled in that kickboxing, and then he started slowing down. That's why his fights became less attractive for people, because he started slowing down and going towards that wrestling. But he has great kickboxing. His biggest weakness are leg kicks, and that's one of the things Johnny Walker does excel in. But Johnny, the thing that annoys me, it's like Johnny came into that last fight, so we only have a little bit to go off, but he came into that last fight, he pretended he got hurt, and he almost ended a flying knee, but that just goes to show, like, he's got to trick him to catch him, and how many times can you do that? It's a 5-round fight, Magomed's going to be very disciplined in this, I feel, and it depends what Johnny Walker we get. I don't want to shit on him. I like Johnny Walker. I wish I could pick him to win this fight, but I'm picking Magomed to win a decision in this fight, because I don't want to be biased in this pick. I think last time when we were making picks on 295, I did pick Johnny Walker, and it's just not the right pick, honestly. This is the upper level of light heavyweights.
Light heavyweight.
If you don't like Ankalaev, that's a you thing. But I do think he's slightly the better fighter. He's just had the setback in his career recently. The Jan Blachowicz fight wasn't that good. I don't think he won that fight. I like.
Me neither.
People were saying, "Oh, he won that fight." If it wasn't a draw, I think Jan was killing his legs. Jan just got so scared of the takedowns, he's like falling to the ground and blocking. It was a weird fight. Yeah, the odds, I mean, they speak them for themselves, man. I'm taking Magomed in this fight. Depends what Johnny we get, though. It's going to be a great fight still. These dudes are big. Johnny Walker's interesting. I would love to see Johnny Walker pull out. You made a good point. He could always get a submission. We always see these grappling exchanges, and if Magomed goes for the double leg, that's a guillotine attempt right there. We've seen a lot of people get out of them, but a lot of guillotine attempts out of the double legs recently, I've been noticing. So you could see something like that. But that's my pick of the night, guys.
Yeah, guys, and with that was episode 7 of the MMAHOLICS. Our next episode, we plan on it being a live stream. If you guys want to come join us for that, we're gonna react to some of those UFC 300 matchups that have been announced. We're definitely gonna give our opinion on those and what they mean for the divisions. Clearly, they made Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis, and they made Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Oliveira and Dustin are 2 dudes who have both been on the UFC roster. I know Charles been here over a decade. I know Dustin's coming close to his decade mark, you feel me? If not, he already has been over 10 years. So both those guys, we got 2 legends, 2 veterans who have been a part of the UFC forever, fighting 2 great prospects, and we're going to talk about those matchups. We got the new announced Zhang Weili versus Zhang Xiaonan, the first title fight of UFC 300, the new strawweight title fight the strawweight championship. And yeah, we're
Guys,
going to
don't
talk
hate
about.
on the fight just because it's women's MMA. That's weird behavior.
Mhm.
If you like the sport of UFC, don't hate on a fight because of their gender. That's
Just because
weird,
it's
guys.
women, like
That's
just because it's
weird.
women,
It's
you
such a
feel me?
legendary fight. It's the first two
Hmm.
Chinese
China
fighters
versus
fighting for
China,
a
yeah,
belt. Like, come on, guys.
seriously,
Like,
it's like,
it's a
bro,
W
like,
for the sport. Like, come on, stop being weird
right,
about it. Those are high level fighters too. We just seen one of the greatest title defenses ever. If you don't like women, it's okay. Like but like
mm,
you don't have to
mhm.
express it over the internet. It's a bad fight. It should. That's supposed to be the third title fight. That's supposed to be the third title fight on the
Third
card.
title
Stop
fight,
hating on
right.
the card. Stop giving it a 6.5 on Twitter. That's weird behavior. I hope it's not you guys in our chat that are like that, but I see a lot of weirdo
Mm.
behavior on Twitter saying that this card sucks already. We have 5 main event fighters who aren't even co-main event announced.
Co-main eventing, yeah,
Like,
facts.
come on, guys,
Mm.
let's chill out.
I saw someone putting on Twitter like it was saying Oliveira versus Sarukian is going to be the co-main of UFC 300. I'm like, nah, man. If that's the
It's not.
pay-per-view, if it's the pay-per-view opener, that's
I
how
think it's the
good.
fourth fight on the pay per view, in my opinion. I don't
Yeah,
think it's
because
the opener.
yeah,
I think that's
I
right
think
before Wei
the
Lee.
Whaley, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's right before the feature bout. So, and that's what I was saying, guys. Also, last thing before we close the curtain, don't go off that stuff y'all see on social media. Like, always be a leader, not a follower. Don't go off no trends you see. Don't go off none of that stuff that you see. You feel me? Like people were like crapping on UFC 289 that whole time before that fight card happened, and it wasn't even that bad of a fight card. The Vancouver card when Charles knocked out Beneil
Hmm.
and when Amanda retired, it was not that bad of a card.
That was a
Don't
great
go
night.
and
Yeah.
seriously, don't go with those trends that you see on Twitter like that. This ain't us being. I don't get paid by no UFC. I know company, man. You feel me? I watch it and I know like yo, some of these fights like are better than expected, and like yo, some of these fights that got a lot of name value end up being shit. Like we already know Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou is one of the worst fights in UFC history, and those two guys are two of the literal best knockout artists in MMA history, not just UFC history. So like, yeah, man, like don't go off that stuff y'all see on Twitter. Of course, y'all are gonna have your own opinions, 1,000%. And if that's how you indeed feel, it's 100%. It's okay to feel that way, you know. But don't see somebody else say it first, and then you hop on a bandwagon of emotion. Nah, man, always have your own opinion because it's the Ultimate Fighting Championship, man. Like for pay-per-views, like 9 times out of 10, they're gonna deliver. You feel me? It might not be what you want. They can't stack not every pay-per-view is gonna be at 299. It's not. You feel me? But it's still gonna be better than a fight night, you know. And yeah, man, it's like last thing for us to say, like before we go, just always formulate your own opinion and be a leader, not a follower, bro. Always be a leader, not a follower. Don't watch any of these MMA YouTube channels and just, yeah, man, he's right. Or like, of course, you can agree with someone that you watch, and that's why you watch them, you know, us included. But you know, it's just always have your own opinion, and that's coming from us. You don't gotta agree with everything we say. Always have your own opinion. Always be a leader, not a follower. You feel me? And that's it from us. You know, next time you see us, it will be a live stream. We're gonna talk about them fights on UFC 300 and 299 as well. 299 and 300 as well. So let's get it. And y'all have a nice day. Thanks so much for joining us for episode 7 of the MMAHOLICS. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that notification bell, please. We're gonna put our Twitters and information down in the description. And also, guys, yeah, I didn't tell y'all. So Nikki, like, yeah, he's in school for graphic design, and I'm an actual journalist, you know. So you guys can reach out to us on social media if you guys ever want to connect on like some business stuff and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I'll put my articles down in the description if you guys ever want to read my articles. I cover basketball. And I work for a publication and everything. Of course, it's cool if you're independent. Still, I was independent for a long time. And yeah, guys, just thank y'all so much for joining us, and y'all have a nice night. Or whenever y'all watch this, and God bless y'all.